Okay, calling to order the Middleton Finance and Personnel Committee agenda for May 20th, 2025, 6 p.m. Roll call, Bill.
And Iro?
Here.
Gorman?
Here.
Here. All present?
All righty. Committee members, do you have any review or comment for the minutes?
Nope.
All righty, I will accept the minutes as submitted. And Bill audited the bills. I already gave you the signed one, so if there was something I had to note, I'll do my best.
There was a note.
There were two additions this time. First one is for Lot 1 Deming Way LLC. This is for the navigation easement for the recurring monthly payment.
What?
You're not getting it? Okay. So it's Lot 1 Deming Way LLC for the monthly navigation easement payment. The amount is $10,311.16. The second edition is for Ellers Associates. That is for the community campus financial planning analysis work. That dollar amount is $487.50. And I did note those on the sheet.
Okay. All righty, well then, make a motion that we accept the audit of the bills.
Crow, I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All righty. First item, resolution. Resolution of 2025-27 creating the tax incremental district. TID number 6, approving its project plan and establishing its boundaries. So at this point, Bill, you would like a motion from us, and then we can move into discussion? All righty.
This is an IRO. I move that we recommend council approve resolution 2025-27.
All righty.
Crow, I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
But are we going to
I'm
discuss?
sorry. Then we'll discuss. Sorry. Jumping ahead too fast. Okay. Bill, you are going to provide a summary.
Yes. Yeah. So included in your plan is the resolution on the project plan. And just to go over some information and highlights from those items, this resolution would create a new tax increment financing district, TID 6, which is encompassing 4 parcels and approximately 55 acres, including the former American Girl property. This would be a mixed-use TIF district, meaning at least 50% of the land is suitable for mixed-use development. The maximum life of a mixed-use TIF district is 20 years. This district is being created to finance development incentives and other costs related to the renovation and expansion of the facilities currently owned by GW Middleton Industrial Owner, LLC, for a long-term lease to a current major employer in the city of Middleton. The project would result in the retention of over 1,700 jobs, the planned creation of 425 new jobs, and $147 million in planned private capital investment. The anticipated project costs noted in the project plan include $10 million in developer finance incentives and potentially up to $6 million in street, stormwater, and other public infrastructure if needed to support the development, as well as interest financing and administrative costs. And because the city is currently over its 12% equalized value TIF, special legislation was required in order to create this TID. And 2025 Wisconsin Act 6, which was originally Senate Bill 24, was enacted on May 16th, 2025, and published on the 17th. This legislation allows for the creation of a new TID, but with a very narrow window that action must be taken by the council by June 1st of 2025. So this item is on the committee and council agendas for this evening. If approved by council, a joint review board consisting of representatives from the other taxing jurisdictions as well as the city would need to meet and approve the creation of the TID. We're looking at a date later in June for that joint review board meeting. And then following the creation of the TID, the city would still need to negotiate terms of a TIF agreement with the developer, and that would come before future meetings of the Finance and Personnel Committee and Common Council to review the specifics of the TIF agreement. Be happy to answer any other questions.
I have some questions. On page 6 of our packet, in the resolution itself, first of all, I'm wondering why the findings, the Common Council of the City of Middleton, why the findings from the project plan aren't in the resolution itself. So there's on page 6, it says the Common Council finds and declares that, and then it's A through H. But in the project plan, we've got more and some different findings. And I'm just wondering why those findings wouldn't be included. For example, the but-for. I mean, we know the but-for test is important, but is that not necessary to include in the resolution?
Do you have an answer, Matt?
I don't know that it's necessary. I assume, is Ellers prepared this
Yeah,
resolution?
Yeah, Ellers was working with the city as our consultant on this project. They prepared the project plan. They also prepared the resolution. My understanding is the resolution was prepared to meet the specific requirements for a TIF resolution and state statute. So that might be somewhat different and perhaps not as extensive as the full project plan. But according to the information from this, that these are the items that specifically need to be listed in a resolution for action and adoption.
Okay. And then looking at item H, there appears to be a typo. I think it should say that there are, well, first of all, this one should say there are no lands within the district instead of there are on lands with the district.
Yeah, that does look like a typo. to
Yeah.
me.
And that one is not actually included in the project plan. So does that need to be specified in the project plan too?
I don't believe that needs to be specified in the project plan because that is one of the requirements of a mixed use district. So I think the correction to the typo on the resolution would be sufficient.
Okay. Since we are also accepting the project plan, on page 33 of the packet, which is 26 of the project plan, it should say pay as you go basis.
Which paragraph is that?
Let's see.
Okay, yep,
Yeah, pay as you go basis.
okay.
And I just want to note that it says it will be paid on a pay as you go basis because I know the issue of city financed versus developer finance came up recently. So there will be no city financed TIF in this district. No upfront.
Right, the project plan does allow for the potential for TIF to be used for public infrastructure on an upfront basis, but the developer incentives are to be paid on a pay-as-you-go basis.
Okay, so the $10 million development incentive that's included in the project plan, that is developer financed, and our public improvements, I think it was like $4 million or something, those we could do.
Yeah, the project plan provides the flexibility that those could be done city finance through city financing if desired.
Okay. When we draft the development agreement or a future development agreement, will we exercise our option to include a job maintenance and look back provision, which is in our TIF policy?
I think that would be something that would be subject to negotiations, but we have typically included those where TIF has been used tied to job creation.
Okay. And then finally, can we look at the map of the district? And I asked about this on Plan Commission. I don't think I got a very, well, but I didn't get the answer I was looking for. So why is the city-owned parcel in the top right, the northeast, why is that included in the district? Is it needed for their stormwater management in the district?
My understanding is that that's not needed for the initial phase planned for the project, but the thought was to include it to provide flexibility for potential future phases. And seeing that there's not a downside to include it because there's zero value for the
Mhm.
parcel, so it wouldn't count against our equalized value limit test in the future.
Okay. Just noting that it doesn't show on this map, but a good chunk of this parcel is in our environmental corridor. And since it is right next to Conservancy land and the North Branch, it's just something we need to keep in mind as development progresses or is proposed, that this is an environmentally sensitive area in parts, especially on the north. So I just want to, as representative on the WRMC, I just wanted to bring that up. That's all I had.
Okay, thank you. Randall?
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay. Bill, the correction that Alder pointed out for number 3, section H, changing on to no, do we just need to include that in the language, or are we okay with adopting it?
And then also fixing the project plan. to say
I
phase you go.
defer to the city attorney, but I assume that those are grammatical, administrative, clerical errors.
Either you can include the motion or not. I think it's pretty obvious.
Those can be changed without,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not concerned with that.
Okay. Any other discussion? Anybody have any more questions for staff or the city attorney? All right. Now we can vote on it.
yes.
All righty. I'll restate it one more time. All those in favor of resolution 2025-27, creating the tax incremental district. TID number 6, approving its project plan and establishing its boundaries. Please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. And any opposed? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for all the hard work put into this. I know we still have a ways to go, but we're doing the right thing as the city. Agreements and contracts. Number 1, we're starting out with the second amendment of the development agreement for tax incremental financing assistance for Conservancy Bends residents and townhomes. Bill, you're looking for a motion here?
Yeah, there would be a recommendation
Okay.
to recommend this to council would be appropriate. I can provide some context if that'd be helpful.
This is an IRO. I recommend, or I move that we recommend to council approval of second amendment of the development agreement for TIF assistance for Conservancy Bend residences and townhomes.
Okay, Lorman will second that. Discussion. I noticed a minor typo. I think you talked about it, Bill, that you were, Randall pointed out fixing the townhomes apartments that
Yeah.
got done. Okay, great.
The apartment phase 2.
All right, thank you.
What, I'm sorry,
Um,
can someone explain what the change is?
And in
Yeah.
paragraph, C, isn't it? 3C, looks like there was remain some unfinished editing of some cut and pasting, still referring to townhome phase and so forth in there.
And
needs
that
to
was
be
fixed. Randall?
changed around to apartment phase 2, and that draft has already been forwarded to Bill making those.
And
Good.
Randall caught that, so thank you very
Corrections.
much.
That was one of mine.
Good. You caught it.
Can you move
Thank
your
you.
cursor so that's not showing? Total principal amount for the apartment phase 2 parcels. Okay, good. I had a couple questions. On page 51, which is I think the exhibit, I was surprised to see we're applying 100% of the increment to this project. And this was obviously from the original agreement, but I was just wondering if anyone could explain why that's the case, because we don't typically do that, correct?
Correct. And this was a somewhat unique agreement because the city had purchased the land where this development is located at a cost of approximately $2.6 million, and then entertained proposals for development. And my sense of the decision at the council at the time of selecting this development and agreeing to the 100% TIF was to have the requirement that the land would be, the cost of the land would be paid to the city in full upfront. So the developer was required to pay that $2.6 million land cost to the city prior to the project starting. And in return, the city negotiated the 100% increment.
Okay. And this assistance has been developer financed, correct? And is it T-Wall Enterprises who's behind this?
Yes, it
They're-
is.
Okay.
Yep.
I know it's the Townhome LLC and all that. Okay. So T-Wall developer financed. Okay, that's it.
Randall, any questions?
No.
All righty. Okay, no other questions, then I'll read it one more time. All those in favor of the second amendment of the development agreement for tax increment financing assistance for Conservancy Bend's residents and townhomes, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Agreements and contracts number 2, publishing services agreement with Nye Turner Media Group for Visit Middleton City Maps in not to exceed the amount of $10,750. And this, what came to us from the Tourist Commission on 5/19, and here we are today.
Does this need to be subject to city attorney review and approval?
No, I looked it up. Both
Okay.
these contracts. I'm fine with it.
Okay,
All right, then I move to recommend that council approve we can approve this one without, is this on the council agenda?
Yep.
Okay, move to recommend that council approve the publishing services agreement with Nye Turner Media Group for Visit Middleton City Map in a not to exceed amount of $10,750.
all right, Lorman will second that. Okay,
I have a question, and I don't know if anyone can answer, but this is a tourism map, right? So do we distribute it anywhere outside of Middleton? Like to
I'll
attract
check
people?
with Mari, but I think when they do their kind of their ad stuff drop offs in some of the regional centers in Chicagoland and Minneapolis area, I think they have maps in there too.
Okay, thanks.
any questions, Randy? Nope, all right. Okay, all those in favor of the agreement and contract for publishing services agreement with Nye Turner Media, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 3, agreements and contracts. Agreement with Save a Tree Madison for 2025 street tree pruning services in an amount not to exceed $64,640. Coming to us by Parks 5-5. Okay,
This is an I wrote. I move to recommend that council approve the agreement with Save a Tree Madison.
Lorman will second that. Any comments or discussion?
I just had a question about why some of the trees are in red type. Were these added? Are these priorities? I'm looking at pages 68 through 72 in the packet.
Kevin Short, Assistant Director, Parks and Recreation. The trees in red are oaks and possibly elms. They're just designated red as dormant season pruning. So
Okay.
that was just a note, I think, to myself and then to bring them to the attention of the contractor.
Okay, and then also Kevin, will the removed trees be replaced? And if so, when?
Yeah, our aim is to replace those trees on a 1-to-1 basis, doing that during the 2026 season. The limitations with that would just be that sometimes we take a tree out and a new tree spot would not fall within our ordinances. So, for example, there's trees that have been planted on top of existing water lines. So that would not be an eligible spot, so we wouldn't replace that. And then just limited to the organizational capacity of the division. So right now we're probably around the ability to put in about 100 trees a year.
Is, in places where it would not be appropriate to plant a tree like you described, a water main or something underneath, do we plant elsewhere so that we don't have a net loss of trees?
Yeah, so like I said, we're trying to replace one-to-one. There are some places where we can't do that. And then during that planting cycle, we're identifying other places in the city. We get a lot of requests from people that say, hey, I don't have a tree outside of my house. And we try to accommodate those. So,
Okay, thank you.
yeah.
Any questions, Randall?
No.
All righty. Well, then I'd like to make a motion for the agreement with Save a Tree Madison for 2025 street tree pruning services in the amount not to exceed $64,640. Do we have a second?
I think,
I think we do have a motion.
We
and a
already
I think we
second.
had a
I'm sorry.
motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then all those in favor?
I,
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much. Okay, on to our budget. Bill, you are going to pull up our calendar.
Yeah, we put together a first draft of a calendar for the 2026 budget process. This is primarily following the schedule that we've used for the previous couple of years. Looking for feedback at this point, if there's any desire for changes in the process or schedule, or any known conflicts with the meeting dates. One that I wanted to call attention to is we're proposing September 30th, which is the 5th Tuesday of September, as a special Finance and Personnel Committee meeting for the budget work session for meetings with departments. Following that, we have meetings on regular Finance and Personnel and Council nights in October and November. We'd likely be looking at trying to start at least the Finance and Personnel Committee meetings a bit earlier if possible, to allow for some more time for budget discussions. Another option would be to look for another special meeting night if needed for budget deliberations. So at this point, just looking for any initial feedback.
I'm okay with the 30th, certainly. I'll check my calendar.
Yeah, it should be.
I would prefer October 1st. Those 5th Tuesdays are prized. Well, maybe they're just prized by me because I have plan commission meetings on the 2nd and 4th. So I guess I can do the 30th if needed. But I really would prefer the 1st, which is a Wednesday. I do have a couple of process questions or changes to suggest. First, a question, Bill. So which of the meetings, is it the June 17th meeting when we would hear your presentation on the budget? When would we hear from the directors?
So if we're consistent with previous years, departments would be submitting their requests in August, and then the September 30th on this schedule meeting is the one that's planned for departments to come in and present their requested budgets. So the plan for June 17th would be for an overview presentation, kind of highlighting some of the anticipated issues we see in the budget, and then looking for any feedback that would help us in sending out the budget directions to departments as they start working and building their budget requests.
Okay, so that would be on the 30th. When is the September 19th? Is that when the mayor would issue the executive budget?
That's correct. So we would take about a month to work on putting together the budget books and the executive recommended budget. So target would be to have that out on the 19th to allow time for it to be reviewed prior to the departments coming in on the 30th.
Okay, and what I'm getting at is just, last year, it stands out that Alder Lorman and I were here and heard from all the department directors. We don't discuss the budget, we just ask questions. And then the administration and the mayor go and prepare the list of cuts, basically, what, what will remain in the budget and what's proposed for removal. And then we discuss it as a committee. And it seemed like not the most efficient way to do it. I'd rather hear from the directors after cuts have been proposed to what they have asked for, so that they can speak to those instead of, we hear from them. Obviously, they want everything that they've requested. And then our next actual discussion, our first actual discussion, is after things have already been proposed for elimination and we don't have the director. So it seems like this process calendar changes that, so that our first, as a committee, our first work session, hearing from the directors, will be with the, for instance, the capital project sheet with the yes, nos. So we can ask questions like, okay, this is proposed to be cut from conservancy lands, how is this going to affect you? Am I understanding the change?
That is my understanding. Brian, would you agree? Yeah.
Good, I appreciate that. Then may we change prepare proposed budget to prepare executive budget? Just for the consistency with past years? Or proposed executive budget, however we want to keep that word in there.
That clarification.
Thank you. And if September 30th has to be the date, why? I'll be there.
I could do either. No preference.
Yeah, I'm looking at my calendar and I would prefer the 30th because I have meetings on the 2nd, so that puts things back to back for me.
It's fine.
All right. Or if you wanted to do it earlier, but, Okay. Bill, and as far as starting the meetings, when you say earlier, right now, you're pushing up what, by another half hour, 5:30 instead of 6?
Yeah, I think so. And I think it'll depend on how much discussion the committee wants. In particular, I think the one that might be a little tight is October 7th for the first one after the budget, after hearing from all the departments. I think we can try to keep other business on that agenda light and move up to 5:30, see how far the committee gets. And then just if there's another night that's needed, we might want to plan on another date that we could meet if needed prior to the meeting on the 21st.
May I ask, on the 30th, in addition to hearing from the departments, can we begin our deliberations?
I think this committee certainly could. It's just
Yeah.
trying to manage the time.
Sure. Yeah, I know it's a long meeting as it is, but I'm just thinking of our incentive to not have to schedule a third budget work session.
What time did you want to start on the 30th?
I would look to the committee. I would say, as early as everyone can accommodate it, but understand that some people have difficulty coming earlier for meetings. So you want to think about your calendars and let me know, and then we can pick a time to schedule.
I'm flexible.
I can be flexible.
Okay.
I can do earlier if I need to.
Okay.
I mean, tentatively, we could put down 5:30 as a placeholder and adjust as we get a little bit closer.
Okay.
Yeah, I do think I'm trying to remember. I believe we started earlier for the session when the department heads came in last year, and if there's an opportunity to do that, to move that up to 5 or to 4:30, that would allow more time if you wanted to start deliberations that night. But we'll be flexible.
I like that idea if it's possible, Alder Lorman, simply because I recall, if you're number 9 on the list, you have to stick around or come back. So the earlier we start, the earlier the directors get to go home.
It's one of those meetings where we could provide some dinner if you're going to be starting that early.
Well, let's put a placeholder for 5:30 for now.
Okay.
And as we lead up to it, based on what you see coming in, Bill, work-wise.
And may I ask, when will we, as a committee, get the executive budget?
Based on the timeline, we'd be shooting for the 19th.
19th. Okay, thank you.
Any more questions on the? Okay. Miscellaneous 5-year street improvement plan. Bill, what are you looking for on this from us?
Yeah, I think annually, this is something that is updated by Public Works Department, reviewed by Public Works Committee, and then Finance and Personnel Committee and Council, and in particular, this committee because of the budgetary impacts. I think if there is a motion to recommend approval to the council, that would be appropriate. Benjamin John is available if there are any questions on the plan or any discussion.
Great. Benjamin, would you like to give us an overview?
Good evening, Ben John, Public Works Director.
Ben or Benjamin?
Ben is fine.
Okay.
Yeah, so in your packet, you've got the 5-year street replacement plan. This is a plan that's developed every year. Sean Ulsrud, one of our engineering technicians, kind of owns this plan and has put it together for this year. I think in particular, you'll see in 2026, the focus of the plan is particularly on resurfacing. So I guess to step back a little bit, every year we aim for around 2 million in capital improvement budget for street maintenance. So that will vary between a complete reconstruction of a roadway and resurfacing. You'll obviously see resurfacing is a much milder treatment. Usually you'll mill down the first couple of inches of your roadway and then repave it. A complete reconstruction often involves utilities and is right a much more involved design, hence the larger cost. A few available to answer any questions on placement or roads in particular. We'll do my best to answer.
Any questions?
Yes. Thank you, Ben, for the update you provided me earlier on High Road. For the benefit of my colleagues, I had reached out to Sean Ulsrud, who's out, and also Ben, to ask about why High Road has been bumped back a year. Last year, the Finance and Personnel Committee moved it up so that design work could be done in 2025 and reconstruction in 2026, just recognizing all the development that's going on and the very, very poor quality of this road. I think it's a PACER rating of 4, which I believe is the lowest we have in the city outside of private roads. And Ben gave me an explanation that I can use to help my constituents understand, because I know people have been really looking forward to having High Road redone. It needs it. I wanted to note the Century Avenue resurfacing schedule for 2029. The estimated project cost is 2.4 million. Do you know, Ben, what that's based on?
I do not.
Okay, that's fine. It could just be a multiplier. And it says from Parmenter to, and then it says see the comments, but it doesn't explain how far it will go. I assume it's going to the bridge, but perhaps beyond that.
I would assume so as well, but I can check on that and get back to this body.
Okay. And then related to that, we'll need to make sure we fund the Century Avenue Road Diet Study for completion in 2026 so that we can accommodate that schedule in case the configuration of the road is going to change. And I know we've bumped this one in the past because of the bridge, to line it up with the bridge construction. And a lot of residents in my district are very concerned about the intersection of High Road and Century. And so this project is one that if we do a road diet, it could help us improve the safety of that intersection for pedestrians. And then thinking about the $2 million target for capital borrowing for streets. Since we are increasing or trying to gradually increase our overall capital borrowing, I know this is half basically of what we borrow. So I would just encourage you to bump up your amount, your target accordingly. Because one of the reasons we are increasing it is it hasn't changed over the years and costs have gone up. And then finally, I just wanted to mention, I don't know who maintains the GIS page, but the link, I've seen the 5-year plan in the past. When I was on Public Works, I used to go there a lot and I haven't had reason to go back there. I just checked it over the weekend and it doesn't work for me in either Safari or Chrome. It takes me to the site, but it says data source error, cannot open map. And I think it's got something to do with asking me to log into ArcGIS. And I say cancel because I don't think I have a login, but perhaps I'm supposed to be logging in. It could be user error, but I just bring that up.
Sounds good. We'll get that fixed.
Thank you.
Randall.
No, I guess at this point, I don't have any questions.
Ready? I don't have any either. Thank you. Okay, so let's see here. We'll make a motion.
Yep.
Then for the 5-year street improvement plan. As recommended by Public Works, Fed Bike and Transit. Do I have a second?
What is the motion?
Motion is to recommend to Common Council the approval of the 5-year street improvement plan.
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Great. Bill, an update on the 2025 first quarter general fund.
Yeah, no action is required on this item. This is just an update. Included in your packet is the general fund summary of revenues and expenditures through March 31st of 2025. I will note that although the projected column is filled out, it is very early in the year to be able to make projections. And in particular, on the expenditure side, the expenditure projection is generally based on the budget. We will ask the departments to provide their updates and projections of their costs as part of their budget submittals. So we'll have 6 months of actuals and then ask for projections for the remainder of the year. And that'll be included in the materials that come out with the budget document. At this point in the year, revenues seem to be trending higher than budgeted, particularly in the area of building permits and fees. Not surprising given some of the development activity and single-family development occurring within the city. At this point, we'd be anticipating a small surplus. Interest rates have continued to remain high. So at least based on this point in the year, that is trending well. But it's very early to draw any conclusions. If there are any questions, I'll do my best to answer those. And as I said, we'll have more information once we have 6 months of actuals.
Yeah, I agree. It's a little early to see what the current volatile market is going to throw at us. I mean, I realize most of our investments are tied up more into notes and bonds and more conservative instruments, which is obviously quite useful, but bonds seem to be, ratings seem to be falling, so I don't know what, if anything, we can think about or do, except ride out that storm.
Yeah, and with the investments, we do have a sizable portion of our portfolio invested with items from 1 to 5 years of maturity. Our practice is to hold to maturity. So that strategy helps cushion us from major swings in the market. So if we would see a drastic decrease in interest rates, we still have some investments at higher rates locked in. And then as those would mature, we'd be reinvesting at the new rates, but that'll give us some cushion. And we see that both when the market is rising and when it's dropping, that our strategy helps dampen those impacts. I should note too, if you're looking at the investment income line, the year-to-date actual is shown at 1.1 million. The reason for that is we use a pooled cash approach for investments. So most of our investment income is recorded in the general fund initially, and then we do an allocation out for the share for the other funds based on their average cash balances. So that's why that tends to look high early in the year, because we haven't done those allocations out to the other funds yet.
Thank you. Appreciate the update. Any other questions?
No.
Okay. Well, if we have no other questions, then we stand adjourned.